Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rear view mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. As always on Wednesdays. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Matthew Brune in 15 minutes. LSU on the hardwood tonight in the PMAC. Must win. I rarely say it. I've said it once previously for this team. Say it again tonight. We'll have Matthew break it down. LSU and Mississippi State in 15 minutes. It's What If Wednesday. Got a few of those already stored in the dock. If you've got more, hit me on Twitter at HuntPalmer88 or certainly in the Bayou Ford chat. We'll get to them in 30 minutes. Matt Flynn is in Mobile. He'll be at Senior Bowl practice this afternoon. We'll check in with him at 2 o'clock. And then I've got some thoughts as well on LSU and Mississippi State. So we'll get to all of that over the course of the next 2 hours. Lock us in. What we're going to do is start with what I think is the biggest storyline of the week, and we'll do that in our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
Look, the portal's closed. Baseball's still 3 weeks away. And right now, the biggest story for us, I believe, locally, is one that we won't fully understand the gravity of for another 2.5 months. But it's certainly one I'm not going to ignore. And we've got boots on the ground there. It's the Senior Bowl in Mobile, and specifically what the New Orleans Saints are going to do there. I think that there are some interesting LSU storylines there, but I'm fascinated by the Saints because as of November 1st, there wasn't a lot to get invested in. But what they did late changed the trajectory of the way we approach this offseason. And right now, I'm looking at the Saints. I'm looking at the Senior Bowl. I'm looking at the entire organization there where boots on the ground. Mickey Loomis is there today. He's going to be meeting with the media. Jeff Ireland is there. He's been meeting with the media. You've got coaches on staff. Like, there is a huge contingent of New Orleans Saints brass in Mobile, and they got to find some players. And they got to find some players to impact things immediately. And so what I'm saying, when I mean, like, hey, we don't know what's going to happen here because we don't know they're going to draft. There are a lot of players out there, but we know that they take this very seriously. And my head went to one position specifically today. Ross Jackson kind of guided me there at LouisianaSports.net where he's covering the Senior Bowl. But it makes a lot of sense because the Saints running backs coach is in Mobile. He's a head coach of the American team. And the Saints starting running back is in his 30s. And the Saints are being mocked, Jeremiah Love, consistently. And there are just a lot of moving pieces in this Saints running back situation. And I thought, well, let's just chime in on that. What do we got? Well, Ross wrote a great piece on LouisianaSports.net today talking about some of the running backs who will be there. You look at the national team, Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton are there, which is a great story because those two guys came into Penn State 4 years ago and formed this two-headed monster in the backfield for Penn State and set records together in Happy Valley. Katron Allen is the all-time leading rusher in Penn State history. He ran for 4,180 yards. Right next to him, Nicholas Singleton set the Penn State rushing touchdowns record, breaking Saquon Barkley's with 45. Like, these two guys went hand in hand for 4 years. Allen started 24 games. Singleton started 31 games. Just kind of a who went out there first. And so those two guys, while they have been worked hard, they had a Batman and Robin type situation, and it worked for Penn State. And so it took a little bit of tread off their tires starting and playing for 4 years, but they always had another guy, and they'll be there. And I think they're interesting options. Kalon Black was Indiana's bell cow back this year. He was part of the group that came over from James Madison with Kurt Signetti. He's going to be on the American team. He ran for 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. Didn't necessarily do a lot in the passing game, only 4 catches, but he's someone that the Saints will get a very close look at this week. You've got Jamari Taylor from Virginia, who was a North Carolina Central transfer who ran for 1,000 yards. He's a little bit undersized at 5'9", but did a lot in the receiving game. You got Jaden Ott from Oklahoma, who was this big-name transfer in the portal last year, coming over from Cal. He's going to come into this new Oklahoma offense, and he's going to help revolutionize things. And he got hurt. Shoulder injury hampered him all year. Really didn't do much of anything in Norman. These are some of the options the Saints will get a look at, and we know that Jeremiah Love is someone that has been linked to the Saints significantly based on where he should be drafted, where the Saints are drafting, and where the Saints are at running back. And so the question becomes, like, what's a good idea here? And so I started looking around at the first-round picks at running back over the last few years. And, like, do you get a good return on that? Because there are some people that say, yeah, look at some of these guys in the league. They're difference makers. The running back's coming back. And there are some people that say, don't ever take a running back that early. You can get one later. Don't waste an early asset. Go get an edge rusher. Go get a quarterback. Go get a left tackle. Go get somebody that can cover. Not running back. So you look at it. Like, Ashton Jeanty was the 6th pick in the draft this year. I have no idea if Ashton Jeanty's any good or not in the NFL because the Raiders stink. I don't know. He's talented. I know that. But, like, they weren't doing it. They were the worst team in the league this year. Amarian Hampton goes to the Chargers and you go, well, that's going to be a really good idea. Well, he ends up getting hurt. The Chargers offensive line fell apart. Like, whatever. I'm not sure on that one either. Bijan Robinson 2 years ago to the Falcons, that's a hit. He's a difference maker. They've got guys on the outside. They're okay up front, but he's been great for Atlanta. Jahmyr Gibbs was the 12th pick in that draft. His explosiveness is obvious in Detroit. Like, he is a difference maker for Detroit. Najee Harris was a first-round pick. That, I wouldn't suggest, has been a great pick for Pittsburgh. Travis Etienne was in that draft with Najee Harris. He was the next pick. He usually runs for 1,000 yards. Is he a difference maker for the Jaguars? I don't know that I would go that far. Clyde in 2020, bust. Sorry, like, still an NFL player, great dude, incredible Tiger. Did he help the Chiefs out at all? No, they found somebody way down the line to come in and do more than he has. Josh Jacobs was a first-round pick. That's a hit. Saquon Barkley, first-round pick. That's a hit for a wrong team, but it's a hit. It's a mixed bag, like a lot of things. And so I will probably give more thought to to Jeremiah Love, to the Saints as we move forward in this offseason process. Right now, my gut would be no, because I think you're in a window right now to try to win some games. And I don't think you're going to bench Alvin Kamara for Jeremiah Love. Now, if you tell me you are, okay, you're going to move Kamara to a third down back and completely lighten his workload, drop him down to 4, 5, 6 carries a game, 2 or 3 catches a game, and then go with the rookie. Okay, I'll listen to that plan. To phase Alvin Kamara out of the primary running back role with a first-round pick, I will listen to that plan. I haven't given my endorsement or said no thanks, but I'll listen to that plan. If you're telling me you're going to draft him to be the third down back and do some of the things that Kendre Miller and Devin Neal and Autry Estime did, no thanks. No thanks. I don't have any interest in that. You draft a guy 9th, he starts. So I need to know more about where the Saints are as far as what they want to do there. Right now, I'll tell you that I would lean towards finding one of these guys at the Senior Bowl that may be available in the 5th round, just like he did with Devin Neal, and bringing in that group to compete behind Kamara and maybe usurp that role. I don't know what you're going to get from Autry Estime. I liked what you saw at the end of the year. I can't at all count on Kendre Miller to do anything, period. If he does, gravy. I'm phasing him out at this point of my mind because he's never healthy, ever. He's played 21 games in 3 years. But you've got your running backs coach down in Mobile. He's getting a look at some of these backs. Some big names from big schools, some smaller names from smaller schools. My inclination right now would be to look at those guys late in the draft, undrafted free agents, if that's available to you, as opposed to going running back at 9 with Jeremiah Love. But I'll listen if you think that Jeremiah Love is your starting running back in September. Because there is evidence that some of these guys are big-time difference makers. If you think Jeremiah Love is Saquon Barkley, okay, I'll listen to that. If you think he's Bijan Robinson, okay, I'll listen to that. If you think he's a second-teamer to Alvin Kamara with maybe a future when Kamara moves on, I'm not listening. But maybe you see something this week in Mobile at the Senior Bowl from one of these guys, Allen or Singleton, Black, Taylor, Ott, one of these guys that you're getting an up-close and personal look at that says, hey, this is a guy we need to bring into our room. He may share some with Alvin Kamara. He may be the third down back behind Alvin Kamara. He may compete with Estime, but we think he can help in the 5th round. I'm in with that. I think that's fine. You're still searching for the next guy behind Kamara. I don't think you have that. I'm not dismissing Estime completely. I'm not dismissing Neal completely, but I think that you're still looking for someone right behind Kamara. And I still trust that Kamara is going to give you a good effort this coming year, but he's not what he once was. So it's okay to address that position. Right now, I'm not feeling like the 9th pick is it. Get a look at somebody this week in Mobile that maybe you feel can be that next dude. It's uncomfortable sometimes to talk about a legend of the franchise, a future Saints Hall of Famer moving out, but that's coming. They need to have a plan for when it does happen. So that's our opening drive presented by our friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. When we come back, we'll talk to Matthew Brune. LSU and Mississippi State Tigers 6.5-point favorites tonight. Why? We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Highway 61 in St. Francisville. Now under new ownership. Now, that's relative. It was October 1st when they took over, so they've gotten about a 4-month head start here, but they'd love to see you. Highway 61 in St. Francisville. A huge inventory of new and certified pre-owned Chevys and GMCs. If you're looking for an SUV, Tahoes are really hot right now. Get into a Tahoe this year. You want one on the GMC side? How about a Yukon? How about a Denali? Looking for a truck? Chevy Silverado is a great option. Every single car on that lot, in that inventory, is online at FabryChevrolet.com. So you can make the short drive to St. Francisville and see them. You can come from Point Capee, Feliciana's, maybe up from Baker, and go see them. You can go up, make the short drive from Baton Rouge as well. But if you want to start your process online, check them out at FabryChevrolet.com. You know when you work with the Fabry family, you've been doing it for 35 years, you're going to get great customer service, amazing buying experience, and great service after the sale. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC, online at FabryChevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday shows brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Looking for that outdoor kitchen? Renaissance Homes and Pools can help you out with that. Find them online at builtbyrenaissance.com. Builtbyrenaissance.com. Matthew Brune covers the LSU Tigers. 4-on-3, part of the Bengal Tiger team, joins us on Wednesdays. Matthew, how are you?
Hey, Hunt. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm all right. 0-2 week for LSU last week in two of the toughest environments against two of the better teams in the SEC. Did you learn anything about LSU last week? And I guess I should be a little bit more specific. What'd you see from De'Don Thomas?
Yeah, so I think, in general, the game against Florida went about how we expected. I mean, that front court is exactly the front court that, we talked about last week in terms of losing that game. But I think the Arkansas game on Saturday is the one where we've seen time and time again this team be competitive with these ranked teams consistently. I would say LSU outplayed Arkansas for a majority of that game and still is unable to find a way at the end. Ultimately, talent wins out. Darius Acuff for Arkansas, phenomenal freshman, was great to close out the game, and LSU just wasn't able to match it. I think Thomas, I think we saw, especially after the first 10 minutes or so of that game, really settled in, closed the first half well, and then found his footing and really went toe-to-toe with Acuff in the second half for a lot of it. Had 5 assists, 3 turnovers. I think you just see the offense reach those levels that where they can score 80 points. They can manufacture good looks at the rim consistently. I mean, we see them get to the free throw line a lot more when Thomas is on the court than when he's not on the court. But they weren't able to shoot the ball well enough. I mean, 3 of 15 from 3, while Arkansas goes 10 of 22. You're not going to win that 9 times out of 10.
And they certainly did not. So what's on the line this week?
Yeah, it's make or break. I mean, I'd say tonight against Mississippi State, obviously a must-win at home. South Carolina on the road on Saturday, must-win game as well. And then you have about a week off, and then you have Georgia at home. I would also consider that a must-win. You have to win these next 3 games. Any slip-up here, and the Georgia game at home will not be easy, but South Carolina on the road is a winnable game, and Mississippi State you should win by 10+. I'd say if you're playing well. So should be you need to go 3-0 here. That'll get you to 4-6. Going to the last 8 games of the schedule or 7 games of the schedule here. So I do think that's on the table, but we have to see them actually win these games. Can't just talk about them needing to win the game.
So tonight, they're 6.5, 6-point favorite, depending on where you're looking, against Mississippi State. What is giving Chris Jan's team some trouble this year? That's been a perennial tournament team since he showed up there. Not necessarily an elite team, but a perennial tournament team, and they have not gotten off to a good start.
Yeah, it's weird. Going into the year, I knew they had to replace a lot around Josh Hubbard. For those who don't know, Josh Hubbard, a 6-foot guard that is now in his 3rd year at Mississippi State, an absolutely electric player. I believe he had 38 against Texas earlier this year. Just a real scorer, a really good player. But you have to surround him with, I think, defensive talent, which he's been able to do before. But this year they just have not had that lockdown defense that they had in years past. I mean, they've been giving up. They gave up 88 to A&M, 88 to Vanderbilt, 97 to Alabama, 92 to Kentucky. So it's a team that definitely does not have the defensive identity that Chris Jans wants. So hopefully, if you're LSU, you go into this game saying, all right, if we can, operate the way that we want to, make open threes, get McKinnon going, get Nwoko going off of DJ Thomas, I think this is the game where LSU could score 85+ pretty comfortably here, and they get the win. But obviously, we'll see Mississippi State is still a talented team. And with Hubbard, they can go, toe-to-toe scoring-wise as well.
Yeah, how do you feel the point guard matchup looks between Hubbard and Thomas? Hubbard has just roasted LSU for 2 years.
Yeah, Hubbard is they're very different players. Like I said, Hubbard, the scoring machine that he is, they use him off ball a lot as well, to come off of screens and pin down to kind of get him open looks from 3. So he's kind of like a combo guard in a sense. DJ obviously with the ball in his hand. I'm not sure they'll be guarding each other as much. I'm interested to see how that matchup looks. You maybe want to put a little bit more size on Hubbard and vice versa. So that'll be a chess game. McMahon will have to win against Jan, but it's definitely a winnable matchup here tonight.
Do you expect more from Mike Nwoku now that that DJ's back?
I do. I think the Arkansas game and the Arkansas and the Florida games were very difficult. I think from a physicality standpoint, he didn't rebound the ball at a really high level, but we saw in the Arkansas game he at least found some offensive scoring there. They posted him up a good amount. He went 5 of 9 from the field for 14 points. So I do think the advantage tonight should be with on the interior. Mississippi State's size is not as intimidating here. And I think that's somewhere where DJ Thomas should be able to get to the paint and create for others.
You feel like LSU wins both games this week?
I do. I mean, I should have beat. I say should have. They could have beat South Carolina without Thomas. I know it's on the road, but I don't think South Carolina is nearly as good of a team as LSU at full strength. I think this Mississippi State game at home, they should come out with some desperation and play well. But like I said earlier, we've said this before, about this team and this program the past couple of years, is they should do something. Well, now it's the time where you actually have to do this. Like, this is make or break for your season in these next 3 games.
Have you sensed that from talking to Matt McMahon, from talking to the players, or do they just kind of treat business as usual?
I think from a player's perspective, we've seen them be very even-keeled this year especially, and even last year when things weren't going right, I think we saw them compete consistently. But this year the team is so old I just think like Max McKinnon and Nwoko and Sutton and them have played so much basketball that they kind of just take it game by game. But I would say from McMahon's perspective, you don't really get a sense of urgency from him. You kind of, I mean, you've talked to him before. I mean, he's just very even. He just says what he says, and it's a lot of times the same thing. So it's hard to get a real read on him. He's not coming out here with guns a-blazing in these press conferences or anything like that. But, I mean, human nature will tell you, and I think from everything that we know about the program and the state of the athletic department, is that there is desperation and there is urgency for him.
I mean, look, if he wasn't going to show a huge sense of urgency in a press conference after the Kentucky game, it's just probably not going to happen. And it's just not going to happen. And you don't get any points or win any games for being emotional in a press conference. It's just not the way he's going to operate. He's going to put everything into the guys on the floor. So we'll see LSU and Mississippi State tonight at 6 o'clock. Kim Mulkey's team, it was jarring start to SEC play, obviously, after beating everybody by 60, and then you lose the first two. Hadn't lost since. What do you think?
I think that they are one of the best teams in the conference, if not the best team in the conference right now. They beat Texas. They'll have to play Texas again in a week or so, but I think they go toe-to-toe with Texas and South Carolina. I think they have a very good chance at beating South Carolina. Texas on the road will be tough just because you just beat them, and it's hard to beat a good team twice. But I think they go toe-to-toe with them. I think they're a top 5 team in the country. And, you know, those two losses, again, not to harp on it, but when you don't challenge yourself for 2 months and you get rocked a couple times, it wakes you up. And so I wish they had woken up a little bit earlier. Maybe they'd be undefeated. Maybe they'd have one loss and be in the lead for the conference. But, you know, that's the way it goes. So, yeah, very, very good team still, and they're going to win a lot of games.
This is my guess, but sometimes I sense that Saban almost didn't mind a loss, the one, if it came in the middle of the season, to just whip the guys back into shape, especially after they'd won something. Do you think, in hindsight, seeing how they're playing now, Kim is just fine with those 2 losses, where they came on the schedule and how they happened?
Oh, she is 100% fine with the losses. She is great with the losses. My contingency is that I would have rather had that loss in December 15th than January 1st, January 7th, or whatever it was.
All right, we'll see. You're feeling like they're a legitimate contender at this point?
I do think that. Now, they could lose to Texas on the 4th. They could lose to South Carolina on the 14th. We'll see how those play out, but I think they'll take care of business otherwise for sure.
All right, we'll enjoy the PMAC tonight. We'll talk next week.
All right, see you, Hunt.
That's Matthew Brune with the Bengal Tiger, part of the team over at On 3, talking a little bit of hoops. I'm going to give you kind of my thoughts on LSU and Mississippi State tonight. I mean, I realize, and I do this caveat every single time, it's part of where we are. Like, it just is what it is. But it's not unreasonable for them to be 3-6 in the league as of Saturday night. And 3-6 in the league is not dead. But they have to get there. And if they lose either game this week, you will hear me say, lights out. I think I've been really consistent in that. I told you they needed to at least get 1 2 weeks ago, and they did. They got the Saturday game against Missouri. I knew they were going to lose both games last week. They almost beat Arkansas, but they did. And so you knew once you couldn't get the games against South Carolina and Kentucky at home that it was going to be 0-7 or 1-6. It's 1-6. What do you do with that? You either get to 3-6 and keep the lights on. Your metrics are good because your efficiency ratings were so good in the non-conference playing awful teams. And so you either build on that and use that to your advantage. Tonight's not going to be a quad 1 or 2 game because Mississippi State's awful and it's at home. But you're going to have a road game this coming weekend, and then you're going to play some really good teams down the line. Your metrics are going to be okay if you just stay afloat in conference, which means you have to get to 8-10. It's a tall order. I'm not predicting it. I'm not predicting 8-10. But if you go 2-0 this week, you at least get within shouting distance of 8-10. So we'll see. Starts tonight in the PMAC. They're big favorites. Mississippi State's not good. They don't defend well. You just got to guard Hubbard. I'll talk about it in hour number 2. But when we come back, we'll do a little What If Wednesday. Plus, at the end of the hour, I want to talk about what Lane Kiffin's doing today. He's at a bit of a Louisiana staple down here in South L.A. We'll talk about that to close out the hour. Come back with more. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. When I say renovating, remodeling, you may think big. And that's okay. They can do big at One Bath and Closets. You want to take out a shower, put a new tub in, take out a tub, put a shower in, they can do that. You want to take out a closet, make it a shower. Like, they can do lots of full-scale deals, and they can do it soup to nuts. Floors, vanities, the whole deal. But if you're just talking about something small that can just add a little value and improve the functionality of your bathroom, you can find it at onebathandclosets.com. It's just a tub-to-shower conversion. You got an old bathtub that you don't ever use, got a new bathtub you don't ever use. Make it a shower. David Vaughn and his team can do that. I asked David, like, well, how long does that take? He said, 3 to 5 days most times. Depends on the course and the scope of the work, but 3 to 5 days can oftentimes get it done. So reach out to David. Get that free consultation. It doesn't cost you anything to sit down with David and see what he can do for you. They do have financing available, 0% up to 18 months. That is the same as cash. So get that consultation online at onebathandclosets.com. Onebathandclosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Let's remind you that website, builtbyrenaissance.com, builtbyrenaissance.com. I always talk about pools. They love doing pools at Renaissance Homes and Pools. Another thing they love to do is your outdoor kitchen. That's such a great investment in your home because while it is super hot at certain months of the year here, we also have a lot of months during the winter and fall and spring where it's just really pleasant to be outside and make that just your hangout area for the family. So if you don't have that right now and you've always thought about, man, I would love to see what I could do out here in this space with a potential outdoor kitchen, let the folks at Renaissance Homes and Pools just have that consultation with you. They've got incredible software, and they can design what it all is going to look like to scale right in front of you. If you know what you want, they can customize it for you. If you really don't even know where to start but think it might be a good idea, that's okay too. You can reach out to our friends at Renaissance Homes and Pools at builtbyrenaissance.com and start that process today. Make sure that you're in that new pool, in that outdoor kitchen by the time the weather warms up. It's builtbyrenaissance.com. All right, we're going to get to some LSU football at the end of the hour. I want to talk to Matt Flynn coming up at 2 o'clock. I've got thoughts on LSU and Mississippi State tonight from the PMAC as well, so plenty to do. But right now, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, so to start off, What If Wednesday? What if LSU makes the playoffs with another top 30 defense? Will we be able to retain Blake Baker?
That's just a really hard question to answer because you don't know who's calling. Like, you're not going to lose him to TCU. Like, you're not going to lose him to NC State, I don't think. But I think if, somebody with a little bit more cachet came calling, you might lose him. That's what he's looking for.
Yeah.
It was interesting to hear Blake talk because he's very well paid here, obviously.
Extremely.
His family loves it here. They're in school. He's got young kids, and he doesn't really want to move. Like, it was not totally a football decision. There was so much family aspect into it, and that is going to come into play every single time. Now, like, what could come open next year? I don't even know.
I'm about to say, it's kind of hard to even predict that. So, like, we didn't expect LSU to come open this year.
I'm looking at South Carolina could come open next year.
Beamer, yeah.
I think there's a chance you could lose him there.
They can pay him.
Florida State could come open. You would lose him. You would lose him to there.
Yeah.
But it's got to be one of the, there's probably 20 jobs. I don't think he's going to Wisconsin.
Oh no.
Maybe, but I don't think so. So it's interesting, but I think LSU's got a chance to keep him for a couple of years, unless you just put the clamps on people defensively next year, and then he's going to be one of the hottest names on the market. But I think if you had to put the over/under on Blake Baker years at LSU at 1.5 from right now, I would take the over. That may be crazy, but it wasn't like LSU revolutionized defense this year. LSU had a solid defense. They got torched by the Aggies. Did not do well against Ole Miss. They didn't.
Ole Miss
it was a mash unit, but they didn't play well against Houston either. So it wasn't like it was just a dominant group. I thought they were much improved, and I want Blake Baker there. I'm thrilled he's the defensive coordinator, but I don't know that he's the hottest name on the market. And there are going to be G5 coaches, and so it's just hard to know with all those variables involved. But if LSU make the playoff with a top 30 defense, Blake Baker will get some phone calls next year, no doubt.
Oh, he will. Just off the logo alone, and we saw what this defense looked like without Blake Baker. So what they look like with Blake Baker. So it's kind of night and day. So what if LSU makes the playoffs but loses in the first round? Will the year still be considered a success with everything put into the roster and coaches?
That's another one that's hard to answer. As I sit here on January 28th, if you tell me LSU is going to make the playoff next year, I would suggest that's a success.
Yes.
Now, like, what's
the scenario?
What can I talk? What's the scenario where it's not? Like, who got? Like, Tennessee made the playoff 2 years ago, went to Columbus, and was completely non-competitive.
Yeah, that was nasty.
I mean, but you look at LSU's schedule, you got Clemson, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Alabama, Tennessee. You're telling me that's 6 games. You're telling me you're winning 4 of those?
If you do,
I would have a hard time then going to the playoff and playing whoever and being like it could be an SEC team going to the playoff and playing Texas with Arch Manning and you lose. Like,
yeah.
I don't know that I would call that a failure. I realize that, you've got high expectations. You got a lot of excitement. You go 10-2 with that schedule, with this coaching staff, after what you just saw, where LSU had all this fanfare, all this hype, all this portal stuff, this coach that said see you in the national championship, and you went, 7-6? Like, I think if you lose the first round of the playoff this next year, it's a success. Now, people in Baton Rouge probably won't feel that way an hour after the game ends.
Yeah, but I mean,
but if you zoom out, probably.
No, I totally agree. The only difference I would say it wouldn't be a success if you do make it to the first round. And like I said, we're getting bounced. But is if you're at home and it's at night. Because that's the only way I can be like, all right,
and
well.
James Madison comes in and
beats you.
it
will have to be some type of crazy scenario. But if you make the playoffs and you get bounced first round, you still make the playoffs regardless. Yeah. But no, it would have to be like A&M losing to Miami this year. Like a game like that. So what if T-Bob becomes the play-by-play announcer for the Cubs? Will Hunt have to find another team to follow or listen to the game on mute?
So, I have the MLB package.
Yes.
And I go through the app on my television, and it allows me to either listen to the television broadcast or I can put the radio broadcast on top of it.
That's kind of cool.
And I would listen to T-Bob a little bit, but understanding my guy's strengths and weaknesses, the ins and outs and the nuance of Major League Baseball, probably not under the purview of his expertise. So I would probably go to literal Hall of Famer Pat Hughes and have him do the call instead of T-Bob. But I do think it would be cool if I had direct access to the voice of the Cubs, despite how good or bad he may be, and I could call him for free tickets and stuff. So I would probably take the trade.
A T-Bob call would be, is that even safe to put on the airwaves at that point? T-Bob calling a baseball game?
Depends on how many beers.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I don't know, that might be the safest thing to put on.
We've seen T-Bob after a few beers, whiskey and wine comes to mind.
Oh, yeah.
We can't have him deep into his cups on the Cubs call, but, he kept it between the buoys from 7 to 10 in the morning around here, so maybe you could do that then.
I would like to hear T-Bob give a grand slam call, just like, it's good! Like, that would be electric. So, what if Sam Levitt can't run like he used to when he returns?
That's a big, that hurts. That hurts. Now, he's a capable passer. He can throw the ball.
Yeah.
But part of his game and part of Lane Kiffin's offense that we've seen is to move the quarterback.
That's a wiggle.
He did win with Jake Coker. It was in a bygone era, but he did do that. He would prefer a guy that can move around and run a little bit. So if Levitt can't do that, it's really going to hurt. Now, we'll throw this caveat in there. Matt Mock had this injury at Florida in 2002 and missed some offseason and could not run as well when he came back. But he matured greatly as a passer while he was rehabbing and set an LSU school record for touchdowns. So it's maybe there unlocks a different part of his game, but I don't want to try that. I'd rather just have the guy that can run like a crazy person. So hopefully that's the case. But if he can't, you lose an aspect of your offense for sure.
No, most definitely. And, much respect to Nussmeier, but it's time for a quarterback with a little wiggle, just a little bit of wiggle.
Agree.
So what if Weiss had taken the Philly offensive coordinator job? What would a Kiffin have done? to try and get another LSU offensive coordinator.
Feels like Joe Cox is next. That's what it feels like. Joe Cox was there as a tight ends coach.
Yes.
He's now at LSU as a tight ends coach, and he was a quarterback at Georgia. So you're talking about a guy who has run an offense, who has worked under Weiss and Kiffin,
Knows the system.
who knows the system, and I think that Kiffin would take play calling duties probably.
Ooh,
Now
that'd be
I don't know
electric.
that, but like, for those that don't know, I think most know, but Charlie Weiss calls the plays, and
Yeah.
will call the plays at LSU next year. Kiffin's on the headset. He's got a voice, but Charlie Weiss calls the plays. I don't know if Lane Kiffin would immediately turn those duties over because I don't know if Joe Cox has ever called a play in his life. So that would be a discussion that Lane Kiffin's comfortable calling plays, obviously, and I think he
Yes.
very well might. But I think Joe Cox is probably next. I don't know that there's a guy like outside the tree that he would have gone for. That's just my guess. I certainly don't know that, but it feels like that's the biggest possibility.
No, most definitely. And also, look at Philly still hasn't had an offensive coordinator because on the end of the day, I know LSU has a lot of expectations, but Philly, I mean, you got the fans egging the coordinators' houses and all
Yeah.
that. Come on, Charlie, stay down here. We ain't got time for all that. So that's it for What If Wednesday.
That's it for What If Wednesday. Appreciate y'all for jumping in the chat, and those of y'all that hit me up on Twitter for that as well. Always appreciate y'all for being a part of What If Wednesday each and every Wednesday. 15 minutes, we'll go to Mobile. I'm just getting some texts from Rivers, who is there, who said that they are headed into practice. I think they're getting Jeff Ireland between practices, which is that's Ross who said that. So that's a good deal that Ross is going to be able to get that. So you can read about that later on at louisianasports.net. A new LSU assistant coach got a lesson in South Louisiana cuisine today, one that is some of my favorite. We'll talk about it when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about my friends at Ochsner. So many great programs over at Ochsner. And one of them, they're just talking about wellness. And it's something that people take seriously at the beginning of the year, and sometimes they lose track of it as they move forward. So they put together a little acronym here for you, SMART, S-M-A-R-T, about taking your health a little bit more seriously in the new year. Set specific goals like running a 5K or adding a couple pounds of muscle. Make those goals measurable. That's the M. Track your workouts, time your runs, log your reps so you see the progress that you're making, and keep those goals achievable. Don't go into some 7-day-a-week deal at 4 o'clock in the morning when you've been waking up at 7:30. You're going to hate that, so don't do it. Stay realistic. That's the R. Choose goals that work with your lifestyle. Remember, small changes do stick, and give yourself a time frame, a target date that will keep you motivated. So that's SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and a time frame that can help you with your wellness goals, whatever they may be here in 2026. That's all thanks to our friends at Ochsner.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance, built by Renaissance.com. Looking for that pool of your dreams? You can be in it for this pool season if you contact the folks at Renaissance Homes and Pools at builtbyrenaissance.com. Joey Blanchard and his team, happy to help you out every step of the way, getting in the pool of your dreams. I know it doesn't feel like pool season right now, but it's nice to think about it. You can think about it as you design the pool you've always wanted, whether it's a big resort-style pool. They can do that at Renaissance. I can also help you with something as small as a little cocktail pool, if that's what you'd like to do. Check them out online at builtbyrenaissance.com. It's a bit of a slow time right now, news-wise, for LSU football. It is not a slow time for the coaches on staff. They are right now making the rounds in Louisiana, and we know it's very, very important for that staff to put their roots in the ground here in Louisiana. Yes, you've got Corey Raymond, who's got deep roots here. Yes, you've got Blake Baker, who has spent enough time here, went to school here. His wife's from here. He's worked at Louisiana Tech and LSU and certainly went to Tulane, so he's got some roots here in Louisiana. But you've lost some of the guys that have deep roots in Louisiana, like Frank Wilson, like Brad Davis, Cortez Hankton. So you're trying to establish some relationships. And Lane Kiffin spent a lot of time in the preeminent football-producing high schools in New Orleans last week. He was at Edna Carr. He was at St. Aug. He was at Shaw. He was all over the place in New Orleans, and they're making those rounds right now. And it's really, really important. It doesn't necessarily produce a lot of news, but it's something that they've got to do. And it sounds like Lane Kiffin's having a lot of fun doing it. And today, he tweeted out a picture of him and Kevin Smith over at Cecilia down in southwest Louisiana. I think it's fair to call Cecilia. And then he showed he and Kevin Smith doing what I believe was picking up some lunch. Now, I couldn't exactly ID if they were in Scott. I don't think they were in Krotz Springs. I don't think they were in Opelousas. It's all around there, and Scott's probably where they were, but there are multiple locations. They were over at Billy's getting some boudin balls, and it appeared Kevin Smith, who's from Florida and has been in Mississippi, didn't really know what he was looking at there, but Lane Kiffin was like, you got to check it out. And I got to say, if you're going to get somebody to buy in on Louisiana, boudin balls are a pretty good place to start. I love boudin balls. Love boudin balls. I remember very vividly, I had an intern stay with me back in 2012 who came down from Minnesota for the summer. And I took him around to some various like Louisiana spots. We did a po' boy and a Bourbon Street night in New Orleans. We went and we were headed west one time and we got some boudin balls from Billy's. And the look on his face when he pulled it out of the bag, just like no idea what he's looking at. And then the look in his face when he bit into it. I don't think he got a lot of seasoning going on up there in Minnesota.
Not at all.
So this was eye-opening for him, and it was incredible. And it appeared that Kevin Smith was well on his way to that. Are you a boudin ball guy?
I'm a boudin guy. First of all, you didn't tell us you was at a recruiting trip. You basically was hosting a recruiting trip, like one of the guys, man.
Yeah,
taking him around, trying to get him to buy into the culture down here. Oh yeah, but no, I love boudin. But really, I'm a cracklings. Oh, man, do I love some cracklings. It don't matter between pork or chicken cracklings. I love cracklings.
Now, there's thoughts of like what the best boudin ball option is. I want to be very clear. I'm pro almost every boudin ball I've ever had. I am partial to Billy's over Karchner's, which is when I go through Krotz Springs on the way to Shreveport. But Karchner's is great. Yes. I just prefer the crunchy outside of Billy's as opposed to more of a like gummy outside for Karchner's, but the boudin is phenomenal at both places, and I'm way in on this idea.
No, I think it's perfect. I think that this is what the fans wanted Brian Kelly to do. I hate to say it, like I hate to keep talking about it, but would it have killed Brian Kelly to eat a boudin or something? Like that's what we wanted.
I don't know that was happening.
Yeah,
I think my guy VK was drinking his red wines, and
he's a Superior Grill wherever he was at. They caught him.
I do know this. Les Miles had the same lunch every day.
Really?
At LSU football ops. He had a Cobb salad from a local restaurant down the road from campus. I'm not going to talk because I'm disparaging the lunch because I think that's an unimaginative and not awesome lunch to have every day. I don't think you need to be eating a triple cheeseburger for lunch every day. But I think you can be I think you can be a little bit more creative, and I don't want to disparage this restaurant that he got it from every day that I like. I actually like the restaurant. We got a Cobb salad, and this restaurant has a lot of way better stuff than a Cobb salad. That's what he got every single day. But I think Lane's having fun, and I get that sense from him. There's a part of it, I'm sure, that's performative on social media. That's what social media is. It is performative by nature. No one ever puts their lowest moments right on social media or Instagram. But it appears that he's having fun, and what I get from this is like he's clearly hustling.
Oh.
I wrote a column about it the other day on LouisianaSports.net. It's like, I don't know if this is going to work or not. My inclinations, it's got a good chance to work, and I don't know when he's going to leave, and I don't know how it's going to look when he leaves. But I get the sense that he's working really hard right now. And it feels like if you work really hard here, you have a great chance of success. I look at the baseball facility. That guy works incredibly hard.
Yes.
A lot of success. You questioning Kim Mulkey's focus?
She works hard.
Nick Saban didn't take a lot of days off.
Did he ever take a day off?
He had a lot of it just feels like if you grind here with that brand and the access to players that you have and the fan base and the resources and all, like if you grind, you've got a good chance. And I'm not here, as I said when he left, to tell you that I know Brian Kelly was working really hard, and I'm not here to tell you I know he wasn't doing crap. I think it's probably somewhere in the middle. It's probably a little bit harder than the general public would have you think, and it's probably not as hard as it needed to be, is probably where I land on that. But it feels like to me Lane Kiffin is hustling.
I mean, it's not even just about we feel it, we see it. I don't know if that's the best thing for him to do is to always document his day, but he's documented everything he does throughout the day. So you know where he's at. He was in Florida the other day. Like, you know what he's doing.
People are really excited right now. And that's, I think, the best thing of this whole thing, because this place was in the dumps in October, November. It just was. And now it's at a fever pitch. I did a radio spot with our friends on ESPN Lafayette Lake Charles today, and they were like, how much heat is on Kiffin in year one? And I was like, I don't think heat is the right word. I think excitement. I think what he did in the portal, what he's done since he got here in terms of hiring staff and retaining players and getting into the recruiting class and then the portal class that he signed, I think all of those things that he's done have not turned up the heat for the fall. It's turned up the excitement. I don't know what the temperature is going to be when Clemson gets here, probably 1 billion, and that may keep some people out, but they're going to have a boatload of people in that stadium for that Clemson game, and it is going to be fired up. And that's really all we in this industry can want, is that people care, people are engaged and excited, and they really are. And so that's a good thing. It's not necessarily a Boudin ball segment, although that was the funny thing that drew me into it today. But it's just that he's constantly out there. He's constantly showing where he is. He's constantly working, and that feels like a positive right now.
It is, and at the end of the day, Hunt, we all know it's a privilege to have expectations, and that's what he's brought to this program again, and that's what he's trying to fulfill. We don't know what it's going to look like the next couple of years, but right now he's here and he has expectations, so that's where we at with it.
Folks are bashing my food takes in the Bayou Ford chat. That's all right.
This ain't the.
I love Billy's Boudin balls. Delicious. I like Carter's Boudin balls. I like the Boudin balls right around the corner from my house. They're all good. I love Boudin balls. Hopefully Kevin Smith loves Boudin balls, and hopefully he can get some kids from Louisiana to play for him. That's what we like. Come back with hour 2 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. Swing Easy, GCBR.com is that website. Just a fun place and a different way to play golf. It's different. It's awesome. It's different. If you want to try it out, go see him, Segan at Perkins. The simulator is incredibly accurate. I've told this story many times. If you're a beginner and novice golfer, you don't really care about the technology and how accurate it is. You're just trying to have some fun and work on making contact with the ball. But if you're a scratch player or a 5 handicap or a 10 handicap and you're trying to see actually what your golf shots are doing, the technology at Swing Easy Golf Club will do that. When I was going through and hitting those balls in the 7th hole of the par 3 at Pebble Beach, it could tell based on the spin of that Pro V1X I was hitting that the ball was spinning back toward the hole. And it could tell when I hit a banged up Strixon when it bounced out. It's accurate. And it's fun. Go by and see him at Swing Easy Golf Club. Pay Pebble Beach. Play TPC Sawgrass. Segan at Perkins, online at swingeasygcbr.com.